Hey Cam, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Do you have a few minutes so we can talk a bit about the fund? I have a few questions coming from our clients who showed a lot of interest, tremendous interest, specifically after we announced the last YouTube video about the fund, the investment instrument. So, do you have a few minutes to
I
answer
always
some
have
of
a
those
few minutes for the
questions?
funds. My favorite subject these days, for the past 2 years, in fact.
That's perfect.
Yes.
So, the overall view and objectives of the fund of Turkey.
Okay. Well, first of all, Funding Turkey is our brand. We called it Funding Turkey because our mission statement is actually to provide funding for the economic prosperity of Turkey. So we wish to align Funding Turkey with the best interests of Turkey.
Yeah.
So we're not in the business of financing or providing funds just for any old investment. No, we look at what are the needs of Turkey, what are the growth sectors in Turkey, such as technology, such as energy, logistics, tourism, most certainly construction and real estate. So these are locomotive top 5 business and sectors of economy for Turkey. So we need to grow them, we need to fund them. So Funding Turkey comes in as our little contribution as the Property Turkey group, as our Property Turkey ecosystem, and says, what can we do to help the economic prosperity of Turkey, and in the meantime to make sure that our valued investors, they get the maximum return on their investment in the safest and smoothest way. So with that in mind, 2-3 years ago, well, going back 3 years ago now, we embarked upon obtaining a Capital Markets Board license in Turkey known as SPK, which is the authority that regulates financial instruments, capital market instruments such as the stock markets and financial services authority, etc. And they issue this particular license for qualified management companies so that they can operate funds. Now, we have this license under our brand name Funding Turkey. The license authorizes us to operate 2 types of funds: real estate investment funds, which is our core strength, and venture capital funds, which is a strength that over the last 3 to 5 years we've been developing ourselves. Yes. So our mission is to become the most reliable partner for investing in Turkey. I know this is a big wish, to become the most reliable partner for investing in Turkey. It's a big wish, and we're here to do just that. So Funding Turkey is our fund brand.
And the right instrument to do that.
It's the right instrument to do that.
Perfect.
Yes.
What are the investment strategies and areas of focus?
Okay, very, very good question. Now, our fund has got a very, very basic but solid criteria for investment. As I always say, and if you look at our YouTube videos going back 5 years, you will find me saying exactly the same thing. And this applies 100% to our fund too. Buy below market value. Whatever you buy, you got to make sure that you profit up front. Buy below market value. How you do that? By leveraging your fund size. The bigger the fund, the more capital, the more money you have in the fund, the bigger your bargaining power out in the market. And us as Property Turkey Group, we are so well known in the market that when we knock on the door, we'll get the better prices. So buy below market value. Make sure you provide stable, strong, ongoing income, such as rental income or operational income from managing and operating the assets in the fund. And 3, most importantly, in fact, as important as buying below market value, make sure that whatever you buy into the fund, you can exit easily. Easy exit strategy. So you buy below market value. You provide strong, above average, stable rental income, operational income, and you exit. You have a very strong exit strategy. So you can immediately deliver your profits to your investors. These are our strategies, our top 3 strategies for the fund. Now, areas that our fund invests in. Of course, our fund invests in all parts of Turkey, not just Istanbul. However, our primary segment, which satisfies our core criteria, buy below market value, provide stable, strong income, and exit, is Istanbul city center, affordable properties though, not just any old property. Affordable properties in Istanbul city center that are suitable for both long-term and short-term lettings, allowing us to provide very strong rental income into our fund. These are basically our fund strategies.
Okay. What is the minimum investment, returns, and distribution policies?
The minimum investment that anyone can participate into our fund is $100,000 for our mixed real estate investment fund. If you are an investor or a family office looking to have a dedicated fund where you own 100% of the shares of the fund, in other words, the fund is almost written to your name, it's your fund 100%, then the entry level into what we call a private fund, whether it is a real estate investment fund or a venture capital investment fund, it doesn't matter, is $3.5 million. So you can come into our real estate investment fund or venture capital fund from as little as $100,000. This brings you into a mixed fund, which is a big pot of investment, gaining all the leverage so as to maximize return on investment for all the investors within the fund, $100,000. Or if you wish to establish a private fund dedicated to you or your family, then it's $3.5 million entry level. Now, return on investment in the fund, which is a question that I would imagine majority of our clients, you guys talking to, would ask you, okay, so I put my money into your fund, what am I getting? I know what I'm putting, but what am I getting? Well, first of all, I'd like to say this, Amani, and this is very, very important that you underline this. By law in Turkey, by law, not by funding Turkey's law, by Turkish law, you cannot guarantee a return. You can't come out to the market and say, I guarantee 7% per annum return out of the fund. If anyone does that, if you see it anywhere advertised, it's illegal. You cannot do that. Having said that, if I look at our past history of the last 5 to 10 years of formally and informally operating funds, and as you know, before we obtained our license, many, many years before, we did exactly the same thing as we do with our licensed fund, but we did it in a very informal way, in a very friends and family scheme, where all the investors were our collective friends, investors, clients over the last 10, 15 years, and they pool their capital with us, and we invest in real estate, we invest in projects together. And over a few years, we return their returns, their ROI to them. Now, our track record so far is minimum 20% per annum. So if you come into our funds, you can expect no less than 20% return on investment each year. That return on investment is made up of a few things. Income, such as rental income, operational income, plus realized capital gains. In other words, we buy assets into the fund, 6 months, 12 months later, we sell them with a 20, 30% upside. Goes into the fund and back to the investors of the fund. So if you come into our fund, Amani, and I very much recommend you do, in fact, I'm going to get one of my guys onto you right after this to make sure that they bring you into the fund, only $100,000, I'm not asking for much, then you can expect at the end of the first 12 months your $100,000 to grow up to $120,000 as a minimum, possibly more. So does that answer you? Oh, and you ask me how often we distribute. You see, I don't forget these things. I don't forget your questions.
Because this is a very important question.
Our distribution policy is at least once a year. At least once a year. So at least once a year, just like any other company that pays dividends once a year, you will get your dividends, which are your returns. Okay. We are hoping to be able to do it twice a year going forward, just to excite people a little bit more. But at least once a year, you will get your returns.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about legal and compliance matters when it's come to the fund.
Very, very good question. And in fact, one of the key points for would-be investors to understand, because if this particular point is communicated effectively to would-be investors, they would immediately realize how safe investing through a fund is. In fact, I would go as far as saying that investing through a fund is a safer method of investing in real estate than buying a title deed to your name. Why?
Yeah.
I'm going to give an example. Say you have a court dispute. It happens. We're all in business, we're all living, breathing creatures. Say you have a court dispute and a creditor of yours, somebody you owe money to or they think you owe money to them, you have a dispute. Okay? They can bring a claim and put a charge over your real estate.
True.
The real estate that you own. However, no charges can be brought over a fund. So funds are actually immune from all charges and similar types of estoppels. So that in itself is a massive security that a lot of people fail to understand. Now, in addition to that, funds in Turkey, just like anywhere else in the world, but in Turkey, funds are regulated by the highest financial authority, which is the Capital Markets Board of Turkey. The same board, the same authority, also regulates all investment vehicles, capital instruments, including the stock market of Turkey, the Borsa, and Financial Services Authority that looks after other financial services. Okay, so it is by far the highest authority regulating capital instruments. And this authority has got an extremely stringent criteria as to who can have a license. It took us 18 months of deliberations with the Capital Markets Board to obtain our license. And there are, as of today, only 65 companies licensed to open funds in Turkey. In entire Turkey, there are only 65 companies, us funding Turkey being one of them. It took us 18 months. Not only that, but the Capital Markets Board regularly requires independent audits of the fund. Regularly. We do that twice a year. Each and every transaction, whatever you buy and sell out of the fund, each and every transaction is independently surveyed by a Capital Markets Board appointed surveyor. So there's top level of regulation and monitoring that applies to funds. Anyone who wishes to operate a fund has to abide by these regulations. If you don't, your license gets taken away from you. This is how serious this is. So investing through a fund is in fact one of the safest investment methods an investor can undertake in Turkey, particularly a foreign investor who wishes to be completely hands-off. Completely hands-off. A fund is a perfect way to go, to be honest with you.
Very beneficial information, Cameron. Now the last question is, how does one can get started?
Okay. How do you come into a fund? Very simple. The first step for our investors is just like buying real estate. You know, like our investors who buy real estate from us, through us, their first contact generally is with our advisory department. The department whose manager happens to sit right in front of me, this young lady here. Okay? Our advisory department. So their first port in is through your department. So one of our advisors would approach them, would call them, give them as much as possible all the answers to all their questions. We've got a lot of material that we prepared, hopefully that will help explain what a fund is, what their returns will be, what the criteria, regulation criteria are, etc., etc. So our advisory department here will give as much information as possible. Then if the investor is coming closer to making a decision to participate in our fund, then the case will go to our fund specialists. Well, they happen to sit 50, 60 meters away. Okay, they have a separate office. So we'll refer our client to our own Funding Turkey specialists. That's where the work starts. There are two main aspects to participating into the fund. Number one, the investor needs to open a custodian bank account. A custodian bank account is an account with a bank that is again appointed and approved by the Capital Markets Board of Turkey. This particular bank not only holds a copy of your share certificates as an investor, but this bank acts as an underwriter appointed by the Capital Markets Board for each and every transaction that your capital is subjected to. In other words, this bank acts like your eyes and your ears on behalf of the Capital Markets Board. This is how stringent funds are in terms of regulation, security and safety. So your number one is to open a bank account with one of these Capital Markets Board approved banks. Now, the bank will give you a KYC, know your client protocol. So you need to satisfy their KYC. And again, it's a stringent criteria, okay? And it can take anything up to 2-3 weeks to do this. Once you're on board with the bank, then you come to us. We have our own KYC protocol, which is maybe not as stringent as the bank, but not too far from it. Once you satisfy that, well, by the time you're at that stage, you would have satisfied that already. Then you become a member of our fund. Your investment goes in and you're a shareholder. You become a shareholder of the fund, a member of the fund, and a participant of the fund. So from that point on, you're in our fund. So this whole thing can take up to a month, by the way, because there are quite a few admin pieces thrown in between. But do not worry, we at Funding Turkey will hold your hand all along the process. You don't have to go anywhere else, because as you know, we are a one-stop shop.
Yes.
Funding Turkey is fully licensed itself, and I have to say this, Funding Turkey is the only agency or group of companies that has an agency within it that has a license. There are, I'm noticing, a few other companies out there that recently started marketing funds. I don't know if you noticed that.
I do.
They started marketing funds. Something very, very interesting I noticed about them.
What's that?
They pay a huge commission.
True.
Basically, these agencies who are marketing funds, when you go and invest into a fund that they are marketing,
Yes.
it's not their fund. They don't have a license.
True.
All they're doing is they're marketing somebody else's fund. And that somebody else is paying them a hefty commission.
True.
If I tell you how much the figures are that I've seen floating around in the market, you'll be gobsmacked.
We can display some of these next time.
You'll be gobsmacked. You know why? Because the whole idea of a fund is to maximize return on investment for its investors.
Yes.
If the agent is getting a hefty commission up front out of the pot that
left?
you as the investor is putting in, then how are you going to maximize their return on investment? It is a matter of time before Capital Markets Board does something about this. I can assure you, because there's no way Capital Markets Board will stand by and watch agents promoting funds that do not belong to them.
Yes.
They have no authority over, no management over, and receiving hefty commissions out of the monies that are invested by investors who naturally are seeking to maximize their ROI. The concepts are just not compatible.
It doesn't go.
It's not compatible. We could have done that. We could have gone to a company that operates a fund and said, hey, we shall bring investors into your fund. What's the point? No. That's why we went through almost 2 years of painstaking period to satisfy and obtain our own license, so we can open our own fund, put our own management company on board, a management company that comes with more than 20 years of hands-on real estate experience. Now, that's when you are running a fund, not when you're marketing somebody else's fund. I just wanted to say. In case you decide to go and invest in one of those other funds, Amani. You never know.
I think I'm in the right place. I don't need to look around. Many thanks for your time, and thank you for cleaning up. It was very useful.
I am in a good mood today, so you caught me in a good mood.
Perfect. I hope that next time also we will come up with some questions and things to clear up. Please, guys, write to us.
By the way, I forgot something.
Yes.
You see.
Yes.
I forgot to mention that our funds are tax exempt. Massive advantage. How could I forget that?
I was going to say that at the start.
Massive advantage.
But I'm leaving the camera for you to say that.
Well, all income and gains that are generated within a fund are tax exempt, provided you keep your capital within the fund for a minimum 2-year period, which, you know what, if you're investing in real estate, 2 years is the minimum period.
Exactly.
You should stay
it should
in
be
your real
mid-term
estate.
investment.
What's the point? Real estate is not a stock market. It's a longer period investment. But despite that, all that is required is 2 years. If you hold your capital in the fund for 2+ years, no tax is payable on any gains.
Wonderful.
So you're saving up to, Amani, if you look at income tax, withholding tax on dividends, and corporation tax, which are the taxes that we're talking about when you operate through institutions, companies.
Yes.
You're saving up to 35% on tax liability. This is a massive saving.
And that goes directly to the investment.
To the investor. Exactly.
Perfect. Many thanks again.
Next time.
Until next time, please, guys, write your questions or whatever it is that you would like to have a clear out answer about it. And definitely we'll come again and ask you some of those questions, Cameron.
Please do. I like this.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.